welcome. This is for World Elder Abuse Awareness Day, which is a recognition of the issue of elder abuse throughout the world. They pay attention on this one day specifically, but we know that elder abuse takes place every day somewhere. And so today I have a guest that's worked with elders and the elderly for a number of years. And I'd like to welcome John Eagleshield from Standing Rock Sioux Tribe in North Dakota and South Dakota. And talk with him a little bit about his experience working with the elderly and around elder abuse. So welcome, John. It's nice to have you.
Thanks again.
So, John, I know that you've worked for many years with the elderly. So can you tell everyone a little bit about what you've been doing over the years?
Okay. I left Standing Rock in 1963. I think I told you that story. And I traveled, I literally traveled the world. And I came back to Standing Rock in 1983. And I worked for the CHR program since then. And I been the director for the CHR program. I'm retired 3 years now, but I put in 35 years with Standing Rock Sioux Tribe with the CHR program. And in doing that time, I was part of a group of individuals, program people that started the elderly protection team in 1985. And back then we had just rampant elder abuse. And I think I talked to you about that time too, about semantics. We have a lot of elderly abuse. We do not have elder abuse. And it was such that as CHRs, there used to be a lot of men on the CHR program, and we would cover each of our communities have their powwow time, and since we had radios and communication with law enforcement and emergency medical, and we were deputized as security. So along that line, we noticed that there's a lot of elderly abuse, and physical abuse. So we would take it upon ourselves to do citizens arrests and go before tribal court. Back then, we had a lot of our community people, our traditional people, who were sitting on the bench as judges. A lot of them didn't have law training as they do today, but they knew their people. And we'd bring someone in, and they would hear the story about what kind of abuses they were doing, and they would provide punitive measures for that. And sometimes it was pretty harsh. Back then, back in the 80s, you'd either get 30 days, $100 fine, and even back then, $100 was really difficult to come by. And if you're gone 30 days, you you may lose a wife, or a girlfriend, or for doing that. And then it would get harsher, I guess. it'd go from 30 days to 60 days or whatever. But nowadays, everybody has rights. You know, everybody knows that you can't just hold somebody, and but back then they could do that because they had the authority. They were the judges, so they weren't law trained, but they knew people. And after a stern scolding, they would send them to jail. So between 1985 and 90, even just because of that, we actually eliminated elderly physical abuse. So elderlies weren't getting beat up anymore, especially the old men. And I think we kind of raised the consciousness of some of the individuals, so they were on the lookout too for those that used to hit elderly. But we still have abuses going on, especially financial abuse, financial exploitation. And we had an elderly protection team that used to take care of their finances, be their payee, so nobody would be stealing from them. But that kind of ran out of funding, so we no longer have an elderly protection team. And I still see and hear stories of elders where their family members would take their debit card and go and have themselves a good time. And then when the elderly really need some things, there's nothing there. So it's still going on. There's a lot of neglect. If you have a medical appointment, your own children won't take you. And when I was with the CHR program, we used to be very cognizant of that too. So if elderlies have an appointment, that would be our priority to transport them. Mm-hmm. And that's a big difficulty here on Standing Rock. At any given point, it would be anywhere from 58 to 90 miles round trip, or even 130 miles round trip to get from your community to the hospital or to your appointment. And then again, once they got there, there's a lot of cultural insensitivity on the part of providers. And one of the stories I tell had to do with a young guy, not elderly, but a young guy. He was diabetic, and he was supposed to go up to one of our hospitals in Bismarck, and they were going to put a shunt in his arm so they could hook him up to dialysis. And if you know Indians, if you go to the hospital, everybody's concerned. Your family goes, your family's with you. So he had a large family, and they put him in a room and going to get ready for the night, and they were going to do the shunt the next morning. And the security came along, and they said, there's too many of you here, so a lot of you are going to have to leave. So all his relatives, there was a waiting room downstairs, and on the floor there were certain places where they had lounges so you could wait there. And they were there with him. They were concerned about him. But after the security said, you all have to leave now, there's too many of you here. So they started leaving. They told him he had to go. So he said, if you have to go, then I'm going to go too. So he got up and he left with his family. and he didn't last too much longer after that. But just being insensitive. Now the other side of that story is St. Alexis Hospital in Bismarck was the only one that took our cultural sensitivity sessions to heart. They had a special meditation room constructed. They had they made it soundproof, so you could bring in your drums, and you could sing your ceremony songs. They had a separate ventilation system, so it would take out the sweetgrass or cedar or sage burning, the smudge. And they even had one of our tribal members do a stained glass entry to the door there. And it wasn't just for us, a lot of other minorities or a lot of other people that needed special meditation were able to go there too. So that was one of the few, but the only hospital that took our sessions to heart and helped us in that manner. But by and large, that's still needed today. Those that we met initially, they moved on. They either got better jobs elsewhere. So the frontline people that we met with are no longer there, but it still needs to happen. And I just don't know how we can arrange that. Our tribe.
It's an ongoing process to do all of that education over and over.
Yeah, and our tribe, for some reason, doesn't want our program people to go uptown and be talking when they should be the ones to be talking. So again, our tribal leadership needs to change. They need to be more more sympathetic to demonstrating cultural sensitivity. And but we have a young council, and again, like I said, a lot of them are highly educated, but they have no cultural awareness. And that's a big issue that we're trying to change here too. So that was kind of my introduction to elder abuse. So since and I, like I said, since 1985, I was working with that. But we no longer have an elderly protection team anymore. It wasn't funded by council again, so I see elder abuse coming back again, and I just don't know how to address the issue again without separate programming, separate funding. Our tribe is more interested in this whole DAPL issue, this Dakota Access Pipeline issue, and as they should be. And but in the meantime, they're kind of, in my opinion, neglecting their own people. So that's how I got involved in elder protective services, and I enjoyed every part of it too. And they're very appreciative too. Somebody came to stand up for them, and I'm not a weak thing or anything, and I can be rough too. So I've had to handle a few of the abusers out there, and some of them were my own relatives, but we took care of them. But we had back then too, we had a good relationship with tribal court, as I said. The judge and the prosecutors, they're all local people. I guess none of them had any law degree, but they knew their people. but that's changed today now. So your judge has to have a law degree, your prosecutor or your defense advocate or whatever. They all have to have some sort of a justice degree. So again, people get away with abuse. And the biggest thing is continuances in court. You know, if you can't address the issue, they'll have it continued. And meanwhile, the abuse is still going on. So somehow or other, that has to change. We have to develop some advocacy here for elder once again. So one generation is gone now. Those that we took care of, those that we helped when I was younger, back in the 80s, they're pretty well gone. And now our generation is the one that's abused now, but not me.
Good to know. John, you mentioned several times earlier the terms elderly and elder. Could you talk a little bit about what the differences are there? For those who do not know?
Yeah. We talked about that a lot of times. This whole issue of semantics. Elderly, in my opinion, are just old people, and I don't mean that to sound harsh or anything, but as you get older, you become elderly, and a lot of times because you don't have the awareness or you never instituted that into your family, they're the ones that are going to probably do you the most abuse. On the other hand, in our culture, to be an elder, you're well respected, you're looked after, you're taken care of. So in that sense, no elder would be abused, and part of the reason is the elder are the ones that do the teaching still. They're the ones that have the wisdom. They're the ones that teach the language. And that this past year and a half, we lost a lot of elder representatives to COVID. So a lot of our teachers, a lot of our advocates have left us. And you get back to looking at your business close hand, first hand. So right now there are just a handful of individuals that you can call elder, that know their language, speak their language, know the customs and traditions. And right now, because of language loss, they are most valuable. And elderly are just individuals that have grown old, and we got to find some way to change that around, turn that around somehow, and that's ongoing. So we're not the only ones. This month, or June, all the month of June at Sitting Bull College, you have the Lakota Language Institute, and a lot of our youth are signing up and are wanting to find some way to get back into the traditional mindset there. So they have beginning language, intermediate, advanced, other stories, lessons, life lessons. And we had a big to-do about that of lately, where a lot of some individuals, non-tribal individuals, have learned our language, and are more, because they have degrees and all that, they're more credible than our own people. And turns out that all that they all the information that they gleaned from our elders, they have copyrighted and now are trying to sell it back to the tribe. So there's a lot of funny business going on here.
Or misappropriation.
Yeah, that's right. Cultural appropriation. So we're going back on that now.
So, John, what do you see as important as far as having culturally relevant elder abuse services in our tribal communities?
Mainly, I would say because you would know customs traditions, you would know elders, and they're pretty selective themselves too. Our elderly and elder. I remember as our CHRs would go to their communities and talk to their elders and go door to door and visit them. Initially, it wasn't so much that they were ill or they had some problems. They were just lonely.
Mhm.
So when they would go, they'd want to know who you are, who your folks are, who you are. Things like that they're familiar with, and then once they know that, they can place you and you give you their confidence. But like I said, we no longer do that. Since I left the CHR program, we haven't had a director there for 3 years now, and I just don't know the disposition of it right now. The way I was working that, a lot of places, they'll go, excuse me, they'll visit you and say, "Hi, I'm John. I'm here to pump you full of sunshine and fresh air," and it doesn't work that way. There's a beginning part where introductions are made, and maybe you don't talk about their health right then and there, but they place you. Once they know who your family is, your parent, your grandparents, they place you, and they have confidence in you. And then later, maybe on the second visit or so, then you can start talking about their health issues and give them firsthand information and make recommendations for them. And if they need a ride or they need to arrange something, then you'll help them. But first and foremost is that you yourself have to be what's the term? A cultural provider or purveyor or whatever the term is. You have to be familiar with all of that yourself, and then they'll believe you.
And it really goes back to building those relationships or making a relative.
Yes. And then a lot of times too, when you go visit, in our language, there's a term called wakigna, and that means just to provide comfort. A lot of times you don't say anything. A lot of times you're just there, and they have the confidence that somebody is there. So maybe you'll clean house for them, or maybe you'll wash dishes or do their laundry for them. No words have to be spoken, but they know you're there. You're providing comfort, and that doesn't happen anymore. And then to me, that's kind of sad.
So, John, what would you tell an elderly person if they were being abused physically, emotionally, mentally, or, as you have taught me, spiritually?
This is where you get a lot of other family members involved. You let them know that you know what's going on. You know that you're being hurt, and part of our customs, part of our traditions is that we never did that to elderly or elders. And if you call yourself Lakota, or if you call yourself traditional, then you can't be letting this happen, and you need to be involved. And you're not there by yourself. You know, you have or you had us as CHRs. You know, we're there to help too. If you needed to go someplace or be at an appointment, you know, we'll help you. Just, you know, let us know. And it didn't have anything to do with medication or anything. A lot of times, just going to the store and getting groceries, or going to check your mail or whatever. As elderly or elders, I believe you earn that right. But a lot of times they say, well, you know, you're not doing your job. You know, you're just being a taxi. But that has to do with their emotional health, their mental health. You know, and a lot of programs frown on that, even here on Standing Rock. So that's what we need to change. And like I said, I've been retired 3 years now, and it just isn't the same. All the older CHRs that were fluent in language are no longer there. You have a new crop of individuals who are educated, but know nothing of their culture, and they're trying to help elder that need the help, I guess. So that's the sad part that I see.
So what we're talking about today is World Elder Abuse Awareness Day. Is there anything that you would like to say to other tribal communities, other elders and elderly out there around elder abuse awareness?
We need autonomous programs right now. All too often you have program directors that want to be all authority, and they don't allow individuals and individual programs to do what they're supposed to be doing. And I see that as a disadvantage. You know, for some reason, you get individuals that are very highly educated. They become authoritative, and they want to show you that they're the boss, they're in charge, and that their word is law. And that happens across Indian country. So you don't have individual programs that are autonomous, and you have to wait for somebody to allow you to do something. So a lot of times you just sit there and wait, and nothing happens. So as far as tribes are concerned, I would say, you know, take a closer look at your individual programs, and those that are doing, let them continue doing. Those that are hired, and especially with the individuals that I worked with, I had the utmost confidence in them that they were there for the people, for the elderly, and they knew it. They knew them. They knew their elder, and their elderlies knew them, and there was a trust there. So I guess that's the biggest thing right now. There's a loss of trust with elders in the program now, especially when you have no direction. Like, we haven't had a director in 3 years since I left, and but I don't want to go back. I'm enjoying my retirement here. You know, I get to tinker and do everything I want to do around my yard, my house. I've even taken up carving antlers, and just, you know, doing things that I enjoy. And I guess most of all, I enjoy ceremonies, Like I said, my son does ceremonies. My nephews also do ceremonies, and they're very beneficial. And if there's anything I would like to see was to go to certain elderly houses that perhaps need ceremony or need individual or need group family involvement, and one of the ways to do that is through ceremony. And if you know that your family and your friends and your other relatives follow that same way, then are going to help you, then you know you're going to get better. So that's what I see right now for tribal programs to be autonomous. Mm-hmm. Let you do what you're supposed to do.
Well, anything else that you would like to tell us about as far as elder abuse today, and before we wind things up?
Today, like I said, because there's programs that aren't allowed to do what they're supposed to do. It's returning, and a lot of times I believe that there's a funding issue that maybe community people or community programs could apply for and be funded and do their own programs from their communities to help elderly. And our casino money is no longer there. Ever since the DAPL camp, and our casino revenue has gone down, and it's kind of a shame that we have to depend on all of that. We can't always depend on federal funding, so we need I guess we need grants writers to search for resource locations, I guess, and make applications for that. But we don't even have grants writers, and it's such a process. And even if you're going to be a private program, my goodness, to become a limited liability corporation or to go for a 501c3, it's outrageous. I was thinking of doing that at one time, but for a 501c3, I think there's at that time it was an $800 filing fee, and that's way out of my retirement reach. But somewhere out there's an answer, or somebody will help with those applications. But that's what's needed right now. Most of all, finding a mechanism to involve family, friends, and relatives first. You don't always need you don't always need programs. We're supposed to be rich in relatives, and if all your relatives got together and decided that they're going to change their lives to make your life better, then that's where we're at right now. So I see that happening. Family, that whole kinship issue is being revived. So the more your relatives know of you, the more they know of each other, it'll be a whole lot better for elderly, and at the opposite end, our youth, our really young people. We need to keep our elderly healthy. We need to make sure that they live life to their fullest and for a long time. And we still have individuals that leave us too early. Back in their 40s, 50s. You know, they're going, you know, for whatever reason, mainly diabetes, I guess. There are very few of us healthy individuals left.
Yeah. Well, thank
So
you.
that's what I would tell other tribal communities. You know, hands off your programs and let them do what they're supposed to be doing, and make sure you get cultural relevant staff to perform the duties, and keep elder individuals in mind, first and foremost.
Thank you so much, John, for joining me today and offering all of the wisdom that you've shared with us. And I would ask one more favor of you, that you'd help us to close this with a prayer.
Oh, okay. Well, I also have one more
Okay.
little story. You know, years ago, our tribes traveled and visited each other all over this country, especially up here in the upper Midwest, what we call the Great Sioux Nation area. And that included the Dakotas and Minnesota, and parts of Canada, Montana, even Wyoming and Colorado, Nebraska. Anyway, we traveled those routes, and everybody knew the trails. And unfortunately, today, those trails are covered up. They're destroyed by highways, roads, pipelines, loss of relative, loss of kinship, which is being revived now, you know, but still a lot of our people don't know their relatives. So a lot of those trails were destroyed. And nowadays, when we're looking for our spiritual guides, our ancestors, to help us, because of all of those blockages, they can no longer find us, and it makes healing and being healthy a little bit more difficult, because they can't find us because of all of those things. So we have to break down those barriers, and this is where our youth come in. Our youth are coming back as a group. So I find that but tribes are not ready for them. You know, we have a whole bunch of well-educated youth that the tribe cannot accommodate, so they go elsewhere for the jobs, for the opportunities, whereas they should be given right here where we need them the most. So hopefully we'll do that. But anyway, my friend, in closing, Funkashila Wakantranka. Lea Petuki Ache Tchechalo. Lea Petuki Wakan Naluta. Funkashila Tchokea Wastel Kupana Lila Wopila Ginichapalo. En particular, Yupia Xiwoglaka Po Hecha. Makakalel Ahitua. Makakalel Wa Ushila. Nahatua Chihanta Sha Wokie Wichakuya. Naha Petuanje Hecha. Wo Cheke. Wapia. Lakota Oyateki A Iglu Washaka Piktabo. Grandfather. It's another new day today, a red day, a holy day, and we thank you for that. We thank you for this meeting today of talking, of renewing friendships, of sharing ideas. We ask that you watch over each and every one of us, our families, our friends, our relatives. We ask that you have compassion on us. And those of us that need help, we ask that you give it as you see fit. And to remind us that in the days to come, through prayer and through healing, we'll all be better and stronger people for the things that we do this day. So for all of these things, in the most humble way, we ask of you. All my relatives.
Thank you so much for being with me today, John. And
I thank you.
It's so good to talk with you, and even if it's over the long distances between us, but I just really appreciate the things that you have to say every time we come together. And I thank you again, my dear friend.
Well, I thank you for the invite, and I look forward to talking with you again. And for the others that are online too, thank you for your time and your patience. And a lot of times when it comes to elderly talking, a lot of people don't have patience, you know. So again, thank you, and I look forward to another day.
Thank you. And this is Jacque Gray with the National Indigenous Elder Justice Initiative, wishing you a good World Elder Abuse Awareness Day, and reach out and take care of your elderly. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Okay.